Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our continued webinar series. My name's Tim Runcie, and today I'm going to be talking about being agile using Microsoft 365. Now, what's kind of fun about this is that as we get into learning and looking at not just methodology, but technologies, it's really more about a state of mind, as well as what I refer to as feature capability. So Agile has a lot of meanings, and I think this is important for us to look at how do you be more productive, how can you be iterative, how can you leverage either the methodology, the tools, or what I refer to as features or skill sets to improve you and your team's productivity. Well, let me share my screen and we'll get right into taking a look at some of the options that will make us fairly productive in managing our workload. So in being agile, using Microsoft 365, there are quite a few components that go into this. And first of all, as you know, as a technology company, we do quite a bit of this. And so I encourage you, if you're watching this video, just reach out, call us if you have questions. In fact, as you know, technology is constantly changing. So what's fun about that is that we're in a position that we really can talk about how you can leverage new benefits and new features. Again, I'm Tim Runcie. I'm the CEO of Advisicon, been doing a lot of speaking, teaching, and consulting in the technology world, but my true passion is really optimizing people's personal and professional productivity. So that might mean running an organization more efficiently, it might be strategic planning, all the way down to the methodologies that help teams deliver more value. So today we're going to cover a little bit more around what does Agile mean, and of course, what are the key options and approaches that will help you take advantage of this. Hopefully you're going to pick up some tips, tricks, and shortcuts. In fact, got plenty of these. Could make this a 5-day series, but we only have 30 minutes. So we're going to make the most of it and help you guys dig in and take a look at some of what we find are really Agile mindset and Agile tool sets that help us be productive. Now, I'll call this non-standard Agile. So in terms of learning, not just about what does it mean, but also getting into how to take advantage of some of the latest releases by Microsoft and how to make the productivity stack that you have work for you. And of course, as you know, we'll drop right into live demo. Nothing like watching a boring lecture or slideshow when you can actually jump in and actually see it in action. So as we go in today, let's talk a little bit about what does it mean to be Agile. And whether we're referring to the waterfall methodology or Prince2, we'll talk about SAFe, which is basically scaled agile framework, Scrum, you could talk about lean, there's many different approaches. But the idea that Agile definitely has a philosophy and a component to that. So whether it's standard or whether you're using a technical project lifecycle, Agile doesn't have to be a methodology. It can be something that's woven through a mindset that you can use to apply in being productive. Now, if we get into a little more of a pure discussion about Agile, certainly there are different approaches. And again, one of the things I remind people is that Agile isn't just a single flavor of methodology. Just because you're a Scrum Master doesn't mean that that works in every scenario. So the idea is that all the methodologies are really trying to help you manage what we call complex adaptive systems. Now, that's a lot, actually, that's a pretty big mouthful. So if we think about that, when you're trying to solve complex problems, things that just necessarily aren't repeatable or the size and magnitude, sometimes we have to approach it a little bit agilely. Now, what I mean by agilely is that it's not just using a tool to help you get there, but in many cases, Agile is about iteration, helping to go through piece after piece, sprint after sprint, or layer after layer, working, thinking, and applying the technologies and tools to helping accomplishing the goal. Sometimes that goal is unfolding. And in fact, if you haven't seen requirements change, customers do change their mind. So people talk about Scrum or Kanban, and there's different in terms of how the project is organized. But really the Agile mindset or the approach is that we want to be able to get in and say, look, it isn't just about what methodology I'm using, but also how we can implement this quickly and efficiently to make our teams productive. And this is a great thing where Microsoft 365, or really we look into the Office 365 world, and now when Microsoft says M365, they're really referring to an application suite that is designed to be just exactly that, being productive, pivoting quickly, or increasing people's personal productivity, including organizational productivity. So we're going to be thinking about this, including the tools and features that will help you be agile in managing your work. Now, we'll see things like we'll have organizations say, well, we use Jira. Great, good tool. We're using Azure DevOps. Well, that's another great tool. Now, just because Microsoft doesn't own all the technology, or just because it's not on the Microsoft stack, doesn't mean that it's not a productive tool for you. In fact, one of the things you're going to find is that what we refer to as best of breed and better together, in many cases, doesn't have to be everything completely in a single platform. So what we're going to find is that we certainly can use the M365 environment. We can use Planner. We can talk about using Microsoft Teams. But in general, is that you might find that there's a mixture of things that will help you be productive. I'm going to show you how you'll be able to take advantage of that going forward. Of course, the standard, project management tools like Project for the Web, Project Desktop, all have Agile components to them. I hear all the time people say, well, Microsoft Project's a waterfall tool. Well, it's not a waterfall tool. It's not an Agile tool. It is a database. And what we want to do, just like Jira is a database, is we want to make the interface provide for us how we want to get through and manage unpacking or doing iterative work. And so if we think in terms of using a collaboration hub, one of the things that makes people productive, and one of the reasons SharePoint was wildly popular in the mid-2000s all the way till today, is that SharePoint actually lets people come together quickly, efficiently, have layers, have document libraries, easy to use at least. And as I kind of describe it, being 6 inches deep and 6 miles wide, there's a lot of territory it'll cover. And Microsoft is moving some of these tools behind the scenes to help continue to focus on that user interface. So whether it's co-authoring, meaning that your team is now not just sending files back and forth or going to the file share, but working in them simultaneously, this is really you eking more value out of the productive tools that you work with. So again, as we dig in, I want to make sure that you're in a place where you can take advantage of these. So as we're thinking about iterative development, being quick, nimble, and perspective, the entire M365 ecosystem really does have a lot of items that are designed to work both internally together in that better together story, or perhaps there might be multiple tools that might fit the need. You need to find what is that best of breed, including third-party apps that you may want to bring to the surface. So as we think in terms of putting those pieces together, it's important for you to have that agile mindset and find what will work best for the situation that you're in. I explain to organizations all the time, if you're using a project management tools are like hammers. There's lots of them, and they can get very big, very heavy, or they can be very lightweight. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So from task management to work management to project program and portfolio management, we kind of move up the bag of hammers spectrum, if you will, and say, well, do I need a jackhammer? Do I need a sledgehammer? Do I need a framing hammer? Maybe it's a ball peen hammer, a rubber mallet, or maybe I'm just putting a little brad in the wall. I just need to tap that in so I can hang a picture on it. But all of them are providing similar functionality. And that's where M365 starts to weave that tapestry of task management, work management together for you, helping to optimize that. So with a kind of a picture of the items and elements that are there, let's actually take a step right into understanding and seeing some of this. In fact, this is half of my mindset, is I really want to get in and show you some of the capabilities that we have in terms of using the Agile components that come with M365. So first off, let's just kind of talk about collaboration. I think this will be helpful. So let me bring up a couple things here. We're going to talk about how we can structure these tools together. Now, I'm going to bring up a browser. And again, whether you're in any type of browser, Microsoft's original component for collaboration, which was wildly successful, was SharePoint. Right? We can make it pretty, we can organize it, we can kind of group things together. But most of the time we have these document libraries, or we have these containers that hold objects and artifacts. And in terms of being agile, part of that is making sure that everyone is going to the same place. Well, that's just one tool in the arsenal. Some organizations say, look, we love Planner, right? It's free, it's got Kanban boards, and I can come in here and create tasks, and I can move them around. I can check them off. I can add attachments. In fact, there's even a grow up story to take Planner directly into Microsoft projects. So if you need more work effort management, cost management, maybe you need to do what we call resource capacity planning, or frankly, you just need a timeline, it's helpful to be able to take advantage of this as an Agile tool. And even some of the development teams at Microsoft, this is one of their primary vehicles just to make sure things get done. Now, thinking through and moving forward, Microsoft, of course, has an Agile tool here. In fact, let me just hit refresh. This is called Project for the Web, and this will be the new version of Project going forward. And while Microsoft has multiple types of Microsoft Project Professional, the desktop tool, they have Project Online, they have Project Operations, certainly big portfolio pieces there. But inherently, one of the new things is, hey, can I just come in quickly and efficiently and switch over to my scheduling tool? And can I get that planner board, that Kanban-esque? Now notice here, everything's red because I haven't moved my project schedule. So it tells me I'm behind. I've got some things that are due. But while I'm working here, I might want to come in and say, gee whiz, that's a great schedule, but hey, listen, in an Agile component, I don't need to know whether it's fixed work or effort-driven schedule or it's fixed duration, or I don't need to know all the complexities of maybe a more powerful scheduling tool like Project Professional or Project Online. I just got to come in here and move some stuff around, maybe link a few things, and as I make or shift these, I actually don't have to spend a lot of time, but I actually see a downstream impact to my milestones. And again, pivot back and forth with Project for the Web to your planner board, or what we call our Kanban board or task board here. But I've got a grid view, a timeline view. And again, this is looking at taking true Agile, or what we refer to as more of a pure Agile, of how do I organize in iterations. Well, not to stop there, to keep bouncing through the process, is that as we're moving through these items, perhaps you're in Azure DevOps. And as you come in here, you might say, listen, we have our user stories, we have our epics, we have our features, and we're truly getting into managing our work items. Or if I want to come in and look at a Kanban board, I literally can come in here and create these boards, drag and drop the task. I can see what my developers are doing, look at the burn down, or what we refer to as velocity. We've got queries and pipelines and test plans, but this is truly for a development team, right? It's geared for development. It's not necessarily geared as easily as you might find it. So again, find the right hammer that may fit. Now, we talked about Agile not just being a technology or a methodology. It's really a state of mind of how do we increase that productivity. So as we think about that collaboration or bringing things together, let's talk about the one tool that people use all the time, and that is Microsoft Teams. In fact, I'm just bringing up kind of a Teams window here. You'll notice I've got threaded conversations. I can certainly jump into looking at files. And if I really want to, I can embed my planner boards here. So again, my teams go to that one source of truth. And depending on what license or what I'm working with, these apps can be added and centralized. And whether you use Team or you go and create channels, I'm not stuck with just only using Teams as a collaboration or a communication component. I may really want to say, listen, I've got a full-blown project schedule, and that might be using Project for the Web as an easy tool. But again, I'm still in Teams, and maybe not everybody needs to see that. Half of them are working in Planner. Or perhaps maybe I have a full-blown earned value schedule. I've got strong baselines and cost modeling and forecasting, and I want to see red, yellow, green indicators, and I want to have other components tied to this. Again, we're still in Teams, but we're using this in an Agile fashion just to come up and say, listen, let's go ahead and add an app. Well, Tim, what if I'm a Jira person or I want to bring something in? Well, truly, that's not M365, but you know what? It won't matter. We can actually bring these in as external apps. And so more and more organizations are wrestling with the fact that, you know what? Maybe we don't have to compete or win hands down in a specific area, but Microsoft 365 will let me fold that in and let me have a blend of the right tool sets to work with. Now, what's helpful is using Teams is that collaboration hub, as Microsoft will continue to invest as well as expand the capabilities. So not just a task management, not just a work management, not just a collaboration, but really having a rich experience, including having that visibility. Now, one thing I like about this is that while I'm in a view here, people say, well, Tim, where do the files go? And you go, well, they go right here. And people go, okay, I can put folders. I thought I shouldn't put folders. Well, I guess I'm using folders. It's familiar to me. But what's really happening with my documents? Well, believe it or not, it's actually got SharePoint on the back end. And so SharePoint brings workflow, version control, a lot of rich things that allow you to manage that information. And again, thinking about a little structure that says, look, we could have channels or private channels, but we can organize our content where people can come in and visualize our data. And as we think about this, when I'm looking at these files, notice here it says open in SharePoint. So one of the things that we find is that, yep, we can quickly move documents in. In fact, I'll talk about co-authorship, version control, and a few other items. But if I launch this into a SharePoint window, I may not have to be using formal Agile or having a Scrum team, or maybe I'm working in sprints, but what I really need to do is quickly get in, get out, and get back to work and have visibility to what's there. So what I just did is I took my Teams window and I launched to where the files are. And of course, it's in SharePoint. And what's great about this is that whether you want to organize the pieces or documents is now we're living in our new world. And there's some great things that you can do to help increase your productivity, especially if you go to teams that maybe you don't belong to, or they have lots of files and documents and artifacts that they're managing. So part of that is really taking advantage of how do we look at this? Well, when you drop in here, you certainly can edit in a grid view, which is great. Kind of going back to that Excel model that says, oh, hey, this is part of the planning phase. Let me just kind of move that up so I can see it, and I can copy and paste, and of course, exit that grid view. But what I like to do is get a little bit deeper. In fact, what you can do is you can come in and you can actually come in and say, listen, I may want to format this column, or I may want to modify or add other columns to what I'm working with here. But if I click on Format column, notice here it says, would you like to do some sort of a lifecycle conditional formatting? Well, that's great because I don't want to scour through all my files to find things that are in my manage phase. So if I come in here, I can certainly come in and say, yep, let's use the lifecycle feature. I like that conditional formatting. And if I want to save this, I can either format the columns themselves with colors and options, or I could even just format the views, meaning take an entire row and just color code those records so I can spot them. Well, this is a quick visual alert. But what might be even more helpful isn't just coming in and looking at all the documents, but maybe what you want to do is you want to quickly find things that help you. And you don't need a view that's available for everyone. You could actually come in and say, listen, let's create a new view. Now, this is not new technology. It's just using the new interface of SharePoint to leverage some old capabilities to help you quickly get in and find what you're looking for. In fact, if I click on here and say, hey, let's create a new view, and whether it's a calendar view or a tile view or a list view, I can choose to make it public, or I can hide it and just make it personal for me. That says, I'm always coming in here and I got to scroll to find these documents. I'd like to sort, filter, and screen out the things that I need to see. Maybe I don't need all those columns, but I want to find it there. So if I come in here, maybe what I'll put in here is I'll just call this Tim's Cool View, right? And I'll click on Create. And I'm now in the view called Tim's Cool View. Well, I really just kind of cloned what I had here. So let's go ahead and maybe edit this view a little bit more. And let's take it one step further. So when you click on Edit View, again, we move into some of what I call the legacy versions of SharePoint. We talk about modern SharePoint or classic. But the idea is that, look, I need some of the columns, and here's all the things that I can choose from. So I could add, maybe I want to take out the version, or I don't know who it's checked out to, but I could add these. I could certainly sort them. I could filter out things that says, you know what, maybe the life cycle, there's just a lot of stuff, and I just want to filter out everything that's not in the initiation phase. So again, I can pick what folder, what do I want to look at, life cycle, and I might filter that out, meaning that it's equal to, and I put the value. What I like to do is come in here and just kind of do what I call a group by. So let me show you this on the left-hand side. It might be a little hard to see at first, but over here on the far left, you've got this kind of hidden area here. And I usually tease Microsoft about, could you make the font smaller, or perhaps maybe make it white so we can't find it? But the idea is, if I want to come in and just say, hey, look, I just would like to organize, filter, sort, filter, present the columns that are helpful for me, and whether I make it a public or a private view, is that I can come in here and do that. So if I look at the different columns that I have, in fact, I was talking about life cycle, let's just group them. Very simple. Let's just kind of group these. And I've got it. Looks good. I think I've got everything here that I'm looking for. I'll just click on OK. And now when I drop in here, in any view that I go to, I can actually start expanding and collapsing, and it's saying, hey, in Tim's view, when you're in this library, we can actually visualize that. Well, if I go back into my view of my documents and say, let's try that again. Let's go to Tim's cool view, or if I hit refresh here, you now see it's actually grouped the items. I can see the close or the initiation documents, again, filtering that. And again, this could be personalized to me, easy to remove, easy to add, easy even to come in here, and if I really want to, and format the columns themselves. So you've got some options to do some sort of conditional formatting. You can manage your rules and say, hey, listen, if the life cycle is equal to manage, make it red. Hey, listen, if the life cycle is, let's just say, equal to, let's put a value to the closeout phase, I want it to look like blue. Save. There it is. So again, quick formatting, quick, easy things that will help you organize a lot of the information that we have. And again, whether it's productivity for your team or for you, being agile means that you can quickly get in, get back to work, and not have to get stuck trying to find, sort, or filter something. We want you to have that productivity that kicks into high gear. Now, there's a lot here, including I could jump back to the overall channel that it came from. We could get into Power Apps or even just automating some of these things with workflow. But it's helpful to have some of these, including if I have documents in here. One of the things that people forget all the time is that I can open this, and I can do it in a browser. I can open in the app. Now, I'm a big app fan. I like all the power. I like the ribbon. I actually like all the menus and toolbars before the ribbon. So I really like to dig in deep. So if I want to open these, I certainly can open it in the app itself. And if I tell it to just say, yep, trust this source, I can drop in here. It's going to launch and bring open the file for me. Here it is. And now I'm actually working in that basically library or looking at that document. So whether I ran it from SharePoint or if we go back to Teams and said, nope, it was right here, same thing. I just want to open that in the app, same behavior. But what I'd like to do is give you an example of not just taking a document, but also going from that document and sharing it. So this document, I actually went out and said, hey, listen, because it's in Office 365 or basically stored in the cloud, I can actually share. And what I did is I went out here and I sent this to several people so that they can also edit simultaneously. And the value of that is when I send that link, instead of sharing the file or them making them hop through there, they could put it in their favorites, but they're always editing that information at the same source. And when you do that, one of the great things about this in terms of that collaborative or letting your people work in that co-authorship is that when I'm in a document and I go into the overall information about this, you'll notice that we get into something called version history. Or I can go into the workbook, check it in, I can recover anything that's unsaved. But what's helpful here is a lot of times when you start doing that co-authorship, every time you make a change, I hear people say, well, Tim, they've got this undo here in the upper left-hand corner, which should be saving all the time. But notice I can't undo several versions back. Well, that's because if it's stored in the cloud, basically an M365 environment, what we're able to do is go back to the version history. So I can say, hey, look, Tim was in here at 10:57. Let me go see what was going on here. Oh, we got Gayla. She was working on this. Let me take a look at the version that she made changes here. I just want to open this up. And so literally I can jump in and you'll see right here at the top is I've got a version, same file, some of the same information, but I can also go in and restore this. So if I make a mistake, screw it up, we can always restore that. But again, it's just a copy. So SharePoint's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, is to be making version control basically with my documents that are either in Planner, right? So if I go to my Planner board and I hop in here and I want to look at my documents and say, hey, I'm storing information that's right around the corner here. Here's an attachment. Well, again, as I work in these Planner boards, if I was actually going directly to the board itself and I popped in and said, hey, let's go into that Planner board and let's open one of these up, I can actually say, well, you know what? Let's look at the files. Where are those files? Well, guess what? You'll see it. It goes right into SharePoint. So that productivity says, look, there's a lot of overlap and a little bit of learning goes a long ways in terms of managing this. So whether you're sharing files or you're using some of the tasks that help you, even Project Professional, a lot of people remind me, oh, Tim, like I saw your Agile demo. I saw your Agile video on your learning management channel on Thinkific or on YouTube. And I go, yep, these are all columns and features that we can certainly work with. But you know what? Maybe this Gantt chart scares the bejesus out of everybody and they don't want to try and work with that. So they'll let people panic and go, oh my gosh, lots of detail. Well, you know what? We can simply switch over to a task board. And so our task board gives you the same Kanban-esque approach. What's the columns? I can drag and drop to the % complete. Notice here I can actually set these and define these. So if I drag a task to 100% complete, it marks it done. This information, if I double click it, is the same that we saw on the Gantt chart. It's just visible different. Or if I actually want to go into what's called a sprint planning board, maybe you've got your sprint buckets, your backlog, and you're working through all of that. Again, we're talking about a relational database. And as we store our documents in collaboration portals or we're managing tasks, it's really helping you pick up and manage that productivity that you and your team has. So if you're using Microsoft Team or if you're working between either a mature project scheduling technology or something lightweight like Planner, you have lots of options in terms of what's there. And remember, you can always add these tabs so that collaboration will work together. So Microsoft 365 continues to share that. In fact, I wanted to go into one more thing here. So if I'm in a document, in fact, let me jump back into that spreadsheet here, and I want to come in and say, you know what, I want to put a review. One of the things that I get kind of excited about is that tasks pop up lots of places. So whether I'm reviewing a Word document or a spreadsheet, I may actually want to put a comment or a note or put something in here. And you'll notice it says something about @mention. Well, one of the things that we're going to get as we start working in our environment is if I do an @mention and I say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and mention Gala about this, and I can pull it from the team or the group that I shared it with, I can put a comment in here, @Gala, please review XYZ. And if I hit send, let's get Y there we go. If I send this off, she's going to get a notification in her inbox, which again, we talk about these task hubs, which is at some point we'll actually be able to flag this as a task or a deliverable that will show up in, here it is, let me bring it up for you. We can actually go into Teams, and if I really want to bring in what's called tasks by To-Do in Teams and Planner, we're actually going to see Project for the Web tasks appear here. We're going to see our Microsoft To-Do tasks, and we'll even have this checklist which says we've got a task hub where people can see these. So whether I'm in Outlook and I'm flagging a message saying I want to review that, or I'm using the To-Do board, this is really helping you guys centralize that documentation. So let's kind of pop back and move into a little bit of a recap here. So first off, remember, in terms of being holistic in Agile, sure, there are full methodologies. In fact, these get pretty deep. In project management, people get their PhDs in project program and portfolio management. So there's many things about organizational development and cultural development. But guess what? When we think about getting work done, doing it in series of iterations, it's not only a methodology, but it's also a mindset. How do I help my team stay focused on what they're working on and say, you know what, lots going on here. We're going to do a retrospective every week. That way we don't have to wait till the end of the closeout phase to complain about all the things we did wrong. We want to learn. We want to put that in there. We want to co-author our information, share that back and forth. So not only using an Agile tool, but using an Agile feature set within the tools will help you be more productive. Certainly, you can use Azure DevOps, you can use Project for the Web, Project or Planner, plenty of great tools out there. There's Microsoft or non-Microsoft tools, which again, in M365, you can bring some of these right in and say, look, we do some of it over here, some of it in the Microsoft stack, but you know what? It's helpful for us to have it all centralized in one place. And Teams does a great job helping to bring those pieces together. So again, branding those tools, technologies, and features, including some of the SharePoint that you get to use behind the scenes, in front, or the drill down, it really allows you to start leveraging that co-authorship, that sharing, and the ability to use your teams or using the views in Teams or in SharePoint to quickly find, locate what you're working with so you can get in, get out, and come back to work. So hopefully this was helpful for you. I have a lot of fun kind of showcasing some of the teams, but really the mindset of taking advantage of Office 365 and the Microsoft 365 applications is that they are designed to work together. There sometimes are duplicates, and you have to figure out which is the right hammer or what is the right tool for the job. But again, Agile is not a methodology just by itself. It's a state of mind, being productive, going through iteration, and of course, helping you refine what you're working with in that just-in-time model. So again, if this helps you, I encourage you to reach out if you have questions. I would recommend, if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, or at the bottom here it says Advisicon Thinkific. We put these out in our learning management channel. There's actually PDUs for folks, so we love sharing, helping you be more productive. So again, I'm Tim Runcie, and I hope this helps you build not only your personal and professional productivity, but builds that project management culture. Thanks, and have a great day.